Hi everyone, and welcome to the Capricorn July 2021 self-connection reading. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot and meaning-based spiritual coaching services. I am Lauren, welcome. So this is one of 3 connection readings I complete for each sign each month. These are meant to bring awareness to some unique aspect of yourself and how that directly connects to some other external aspect to your life. So in the self-connection reading, we are taking a look at you connecting with yourself. And we're taking a look at really what is something that you need to know and keep aware of for this month. And I apologize for the late timing of this July reading. This energy will obviously carry over into August as well. But we're taking a look at really being curious and bringing awareness to your unique, authentic self and what part of yourself needs to have awareness brought to it right now to kind of help unlock and keep you aware of your own authenticity, but also to bring awareness to some aspect of self that perhaps you haven't been working with that needs a little extra attention. All right, so all of my readings utilize the Triad of Engagement, which is focusing on showing you the importance of working with the 3 very basic principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation, and how when we incorporate these into our experience, we bring awareness to our unique internal authentic self, and we're able to also bring awareness to how we connect to aspects of our external environment to be able to experience and see our place and purpose and emotional fulfillment. All right, so Capricorn, let's jump right in. I'm going to be pulling a Power of Surrender card for the principle of curiosity. And this card's kind of going to open up the energy to what you need to be curious about when looking inward towards your unique internal authentic self. Now, when we're working with, sorry, let me just adjust myself here. I feel like I'm slouching. All right, so when we're working with the energy of curiosity, we're working with the underlying principles of openness, receptivity, and optimism. And oftentimes what can happen is as we get older, we close ourselves off to the best version, to the best aspects of working with curiosity. We get to this place where we are no longer approaching things from an open perspective. We are approaching things more from the, already been there, done that. I know if I do this, this is what's going to happen. And we lose our ability to be in touch with the concepts of awe and wonder around the unknown in both our external environment as well as within ourselves. So in this reading, we're turning curiosity inwards. We're highlighting some aspect of self that we don't know everything about and that now we're being told we need to connect with. So in thinking about that, we have 2 cards that came out for you this month, Capricorn. We have Surrender to Rest and Sleep, which says to prevent burnout, slow down. Honor your need for quiet time and peaceful sleep to rejuvenate your mind, body, and spirit. And then we have Surrender to Success. And it says, you are ready to experience abundance. Don't look back at previous roadblocks or difficulties. Leap into an exciting new world of possibilities. Now, this kind of seems a little counterintuitive, right? You know, with this last part of leap into exciting new worlds of possibilities, and then we have surrender to rest and sleep, and it's telling you to slow down. Now, I think together what I'm seeing here with these 2, and we're thinking about curiosity, turning this inward, and curiosity really involves asking ourselves a question. So when we're talking about surrender to success and surrender to rest and sleep, what I'm seeing here is somehow you've confused, perhaps, and this is where the question comes, where have you confused the need to go with how you achieve success? That we have to force ourselves past our limits of basically feeling in flow and at ease with everything. And we feel that we have to push ourselves past that point for us to be worthy of success. And Capricorn, you are a sign. You are the cardinal earth sign. Your motto in the zodiac is I use. So you really have at your disposal this ability to put your eye on the prize, so to speak, and go for it and utilize everything at your disposal to make it happen. So you generally are a very busy sign. You're a sign that goes and does and achieves goals. But what can happen is that we also get mixed up at certain times, that we don't always, in order to achieve success or our goals, have to burn ourselves out to do that. We don't have to use, and when I say use, consume everything within our grasp and disposal to make something happen. Now, I know this from personal experience. I used to believe that you had to be tireless, almost like an Elon Musk or a Steve Jobs, or just think of any very famous highly successful industry leader type person, where generally you have this belief or impression of them that they don't sleep, that they're super intense, that they go, even to at the expense of their own families and friends, and there's this quality of, especially in the American culture, that's what we have to do in order to achieve our goals, in order to be worthy of success, especially a high level of success, that we have to push ourselves beyond the boundaries of what feel authentically good to us. And I think that's kind of where you're sitting right now, Capricorn, in realigning yourself with the realization that success can be yours, while also you coming into a place of rest. You don't have to burn yourself out to meet your goals and to be worthy of success. You don't have to be the frenetic CEO energy to achieve actually a very high level of success. You can do, and this is where working authentically with yourself comes into play. Because yes, there are those people like Jeff Bezos, like Elon Musk, like Steve Jobs, where when you see them and they're being interviewed, there is this intensity to them. And they are that type of person. They are a person who maybe is a little tireless, a little intense. I also like to think of somebody like Gordon Ramsay, where they just come across like they're just so full of energy. And you might look at that and go, that's not me, but that's what I have to embody to have that kind of success. And in reality, there are a lot of people out there that maybe aren't front and center on television, or in mainstream media where we're seeing them all the time, but there's plenty of people out there who are highly successful in their different fields of practice or industry or in their home lives that are not that intense, that are not burning the candle at all ends, that are not having to bring this extra level of excitement to everything they do, because that's not who they are. But they can still achieve success for themselves because they're working in alignment with themselves. So this month, this is really about looking at where you need to slow down, where you need to start acting more in alignment with who you are. Now, this doesn't mean that, maybe perhaps you are in certain aspects tireless and that's where you excel, but in other areas you're not. And so this is where we use curiosity and shine it inwards to really see where within myself do I feel exhausted and why. We have to ask ourselves that extra follow-up why. We're bringing awareness to ourselves. And only we can answer these questions for ourselves, because each one of us is a singular being. Each one of us is living our own unique life experience. We can't have that why answered externally. We have to be able to be like a little child and keep kind of having that follow-up question and the follow-up question and the follow-up question. And this is how we start to kind of break apart all of these layers of masking and kind of what we build up around ourselves as we go from childhood to adulthood. And as we experience things and we start to compare ourselves to others, and we start to maybe have certain aspects of ourselves criticized. And so we build these layers as protective barriers between ourselves and the external environment, and also between ourself and ourself. That I don't really want to go there, because last time I went there, I got hurt. But this is where now we need to ask that question, okay, well, why? Why did we get hurt the last time we brought this part of ourselves out? Why did we get hurt the last time we expended this much energy in one area? What, that kind of thing. So this is really asking yourself that opening question of, where do I feel I'm not worthy of success in just being who I am and just working within the confines of my authentic self? Where do I feel I'm pushing myself beyond my limits to where I can't just feel like I can take a nap if I want, when I want, or that I'm somehow losing sleep in some capacity because I'm working too hard, or I'm, burning the midnight oil, or I'm just simply worried. The other side to this is just living in a constant state of anxiety because you've pushed yourself to run at that level. Now, my personal experience was one very similar to that, where I had worked for many years. I had actually been under the assumption, again, that you have to emulate and become one of these highly intense, hardworking, work the 14 hours a day, go, in order to be worthy of success. And what ended up happening is that you end up getting to this place where you actually end up having a physiological experience of that emotional stress and trauma. And what happens is that your body actually starts to run constantly on adrenaline. You are constantly running on this extra level of anxiety. And when that happens, your body starts to break down. This is where we have a lack of really quality level of sleep because we're worried, or because our bodies can't shut down appropriately. This is where we find ourselves almost feeling like we might be buzzing at times. And it's not because we drank too much caffeine, and it's not because we, are on something. It's just because our bodies are now attuned to being at this heightened state of anxiousness. And in order for us to start to break down from being in that place, to be able to come into a place that feels like this, we have to start breaking that cycle of basically pushing yourself to a place that doesn't feel authentic to you. Because if it's causing you to not sleep, and it's causing you to feel anxious, and it's causing you to feel not comfortable in who you are, basically, then it's not authentic to you. Now, again, it may be authentic to somebody else. Somebody else might be able to run at that level and feel fine and feel great and feel energized because that's who they are. They find other ways to have downtime for themselves. But if that's not who you are, then this is the question of where am I somehow falsely relating me burning myself out in some aspect to feel only then that I can be worthy of success, or that's how I have to achieve it. Okay. So now I'm going to pull a spirit animal oracle card for the concept of courage. And courage is where we get a chance to really step into our seat of personal power. This is where we get a chance to tap into courage, to start making the decisions to take action on our own behalf from a place of authenticity. So in your seat of courage around taking action, we have koi fish spirit. There is always enough. It's number 36, which breaks down to the number 9. And then we have nightingale spirit. Love is all around. And that's number 41, breaking down to a 5. Two beautiful cards to keep in mind as you're getting the courage to take action on behalf of yourself this month. So right off the bat, koi fish spirit, there is always enough. I'm getting this feeling from you guys, just as I was sitting here kind of feeling into your energy and thinking about these first two cards here, that there's this quality of coming from a lack-minded mentality of, well, I can't slow down, Lauren, because then who's going to pay the bills? I have to keep going. I have to do all this stuff. I'm a single mom and I have to go to work and be this person. And then I have to run all the errands and take care of my family. And I have to, it's like all of a sudden I can feel that anxiety come up. And Spirit is reminding you there is always enough. The big lie that we're told. Now, granted, yes, there is this quality to our experience that there are challenges that we do have to sometimes dig deep to overcome. That we have to sometimes work those extra long hours because of a deadline. Or we have to push ourselves outside of a comfort zone because of a change in life experience. But in general, as long as we are acting with awareness around our authentic selves and where we're getting burned out and where we're taking action that doesn't work within the confines of who we are, our personalities, our unique singular self, the universe will support us. The universe will bring in people and circumstances to help support us as we continue to move forward. And when we come from this mindset of, but I have to, because if I don't, all of these negative things will happen. What if instead you change that? Because we really are, when we think of ourselves as, we are physical beings, we are emotional beings, we are mental beings, and we're also spiritual beings. And there are all these aspects to our experience. Now, when we think of ourselves as a spiritual being, there's this element that goes beyond just our direct experience. And we really, through our spiritual and emotional experience of our life, can really change and mold and through doing manifest our actual tangible physical experience, as well as what we perceive mentally. And so there's this quality where if you're continually coming from this lack-minded viewpoint of, but if I don't do this, then these negative things will happen. Those negative things are going to happen because you're constantly thinking about them. They're constantly within your experience. That's all you're focusing on, is trying not to let these negative things happen instead of the reverse and changing that to an optimistic viewpoint of, if I continue to do this, this is what I can build. This is what I can maintain. And what changes then is your perspective of what you're doing. Suddenly working those extra hours is not, I have to work these extra hours because if I don't, my whole family is going to fall apart. Because we'll have no money on the table, or we'll have no food on the table, no money, won't be able to pay my rent. And so I have to just keep working just to pay the rent, just to eke by and put food on the table, and so you're living in this, like, I'm working so hard to barely scrape by. Instead of saying, I'm working this hard because because it allows me to pay not only just my rent, but eventually my mortgage. It allows me to get the best food for my children and make sure that they're fed in the healthiest way possible. It allows me to be able to have the little bit of savings on the side to, instead of just in case of an emergency, to save towards something specific. And this is where then we start to change our perspective of working, of how we work and where we put our energy. Of, I get to put time and energy here so that I can continue to, because it allows me to build here. And as you do that, you start to actually change as well how you work, where you actually start to see value and where you put your time and energy into. So what this will look like eventually is, I am so grateful for what I have a chance to do here because it allows me to do this here. But now I'm realizing, because I'm not running on adrenaline and I'm not anxious and I'm not, not sleeping at night, I'm able to have clarity of awareness for self to realize, maybe now it's time for me to start looking for a new job that can pay me a little bit more, because now I get a chance to see what else I can build with this little bit more. Or I'm going to start to inquire about, instead of looking at a potential, promotion at work as something that might be stressful, I might even have to put more work on my plate and, oh my God, I have to work even longer hours. Instead, you can look at it and say, well, actually, this allows me to now build even more. Now we could bring this back to the family as well, to say, maybe you're putting so much effort and time into the family life and it's just burning you out. You have multiple kids and multiple responsibilities, and at a certain point, every task you do is just a slog. And instead, it's about changing that to, again, to say, I get the opportunity to do these things with my children, to be able to help mold their experiences. I get a chance to cook dinner for them so that they get to see what that looks like. What they get a chance to experience my love for them through this. I get a chance to be a working mom and be an example for them so that they can see how to balance all of these different aspects. You get a chance to, through your work in the home, show value, teach consequences, and get a chance to also be hands-on. And the more that you do that, the more you might realize, well, there's some aspect that maybe isn't quite in alignment with me, that doesn't really hold value towards now what I see value from my hard work is creating. Maybe I don't have to cook dinner every night to get across to my children that this is important. I can do it twice a week and take off all this added stress that I have to be this perfect parent and I have to cook everything from organic, farm to table, whatever it is, that I can teach them the importance of this, but also teach them the importance of showing what a healthy working mother looks like, or a working father looks like, that there's a balance. Because the thing is what we don't realize sometimes is that when we come from a lack-minded mentality, especially when we have children who are watching us, when this comes directly to your family, when they're watching us, that can impact them. Where they see mom or dad or both, or whoever is taking care of them, if they see that person is constantly stressed and anxiety ridden, and that there's always this kind of level of we don't have enough or we're barely just hanging on, that impacts that child. And they start to also correlate that kind of mentality themselves of never having enough, of, well, I have to work. What work means is being stressed. What being a loving parent means is being anxious and frustrated. And instead, it's so much more beneficial for children to almost have less and see a healthy, happy, well-adjusted parent than it is for them to have more and have a stressed and anxious parent who's constantly speaking to not enough. Now I'm bringing this back to, I feel like the message here really is focused on family. I keep thinking about specifically parents and children. So for some of you, this might resonate. But again, if this is also coming into the work environment, this is also really bringing that, changing that negative mindset to realize, well, maybe another job within my, in another department within my company might be better suited for me. And even if it means a reduction in money, what it could open up for me is more time for me to discover something new about myself that I can then actually funnel into meeting another goal of mine, or finding a new aspect of self that might actually in turn illuminate a new career path for me. But first, I have to make that adjustment to see if I'm overly stressed at work. I have to make adjustments somewhere. And if that means cutting back on my hours, which might mean cutting back a little bit into the pay, or it might mean me saying, I want to make a lateral movement to this position over here, or even a backward movement. But that still might be more fulfilling and allow you to have that time to decompress. That's where you get a chance to tap back into yourself, get more in alignment. And if you're coming from instead of a lack mentality of, but I'm losing money or I'm going backwards, instead you're saying, no, I'm honoring myself. And I know that there's always enough. And that the more that I honor myself, the more success the universe will help me bring in. Because then we also have love is all around, this Nightingale spirit. I love that. When we think about love is all around, I feel like what the universe is trying to tell you is that you're going to be loved regardless of whether you're meeting every single goal that you feel you have to meet or that others are putting on you. Love is all around, and when you're thinking about taking action on your own behalf, understand that. Understand that what you're doing is for love of self, so that then you can also authentically love another, so that you're not coming from this place of frustration to where you lose sight of that. Where again, we get ourselves stuck in this lack mentality, and that really causes the interpersonal relationships in our lives to suffer. So Capricorn, I really think this is about getting back into a positive mindset, out of a lack of mindset. And I know it's hard. I know it doesn't seem like, really, if I just start looking at me working, so many hours a week, if I look at, I have to work 60 hours and this is beneficial and it's allowing me to do all, is that really going to change anything? Yeah, it is. It is. And it's amazing how quickly it will change how you view something. When you start to realize and give value and meaning to where you choose to put your energy. And it allows you to start to come down from that place of anxiety, from that place, because then you start to realize, oh, this is why I'm doing this. This is why you start to connect. You start to connect with why you're taking action. It's not just every day I wake up and it's a rat race and it's crazy town. It's I wake up and I'm doing things with intent. And I know that my life has a place and a purpose. And I know that me choosing to go to work for 14 hours is a choice of mine, because I don't have to. I could work less hours and make do with less money if that is more of value to me. If it's not, and the money is more of value, and then I have to understand that for myself. And I have to say, instead of I'm just keeping food on the table and paying rent, you have to say, I am choosing to pay rent, and that's why I'm working these extra 2 hours. I'm choosing to feel what it feels like to be like, oh, my bills are paid for the month. But even though, yes, this is it's exhausting, the added stress of not being able to pay my bills is what holds meaning for me. And this is where I find rest. And this is where I get a chance to tap into this. And also get a touch on success. Or is it the reverse? Is it, I don't want to work 14 hours because this doesn't hold meaning for me, because it's so draining that I can't actually rest even when I am trying to rest. And paying the bills on time is not enough of a meaning and value for me to work like a dog like this. So I'm going to change it and say, okay, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to take a pay cut, whether that means asking for a reduction in hours or changing to a new position. And I'm going to just do it from a place where I'm going to say, yeah, I might have to be a little late on rent, or I might not be able to pay this bill, or I might have to take out a few luxuries that I've been used to. But the time that I'm giving back to myself, or perhaps now I get those extra couple hours in the evening with my kids, or I get the chance to just sit and veg out and be able to get back into a creative space that I haven't been able to get back into in, 5 years. That's where you find value and meaning, and you're attributing that. No one can assign value and meaning in your life. Only you can. So if that means, if those 2 extra hours in the day or those 4 extra hours in the day mean more than what the money can bring, and you're choosing time over money, well, then that's where you attribute the meaning, and you take courageous action to do that on your behalf. And then have faith, because that's what courage entails. Curiosity works with tapping us into awe and wonder. Courage taps us into faith that what we choose to do is going to have a beneficial outcome. And what Spirit's telling you here is that if you need to take a step back, it's actually going to lead to steps forward, because you're realigning yourself and there is always enough. Okay. Now, last but not least, we are going to pull a card for contemplation. And contemplation is where we get a chance to work with, wow, we have a card that just popped right out, so I'm going to go with that. This is where we get a chance to work with learning from our lessons. We get to integrate, reflect. We get a chance to see where we were curious, where we decided to be courageous and take action, and then what happened because of that. And then this is where we get a chance to learn. We get a chance to step into our seat of self-education. This is the completion of the Triad of Engagement, where we are curious, we engage ourselves, and then we get a chance to learn about ourselves and how we work. So the card that popped right out for you guys is transformation. And it says, things are changing at a cellular level, deep healing. I love this card. And I think this really sums up this whole reading here, which is, we can transform ourselves at any given point. We can transform our perspective at any given point. We can actually transform ourselves down to the deepest cellular level just by making small changes, by just bringing awareness to small aspects of self, which include, where do I feel like I'm exhausted and pushing? Where do I feel like I'm going against the flow instead of with it? Where do I assign meaning and value, and where am I not meeting that? So if you are, let's say, the breadwinner in a household, and you are working and working and working, and you are stressed and you're exhausted, and in reality, as you're sitting here thinking about, well, what holds value and meaning? What is my idea of success? Well, maybe your idea of success isn't being a monetary superpower. Maybe your idea of success is, I get a chance to be there to help my kids with their homework. I get a chance to help mold their life view when they're still in this growing phase. And if that's really where, when you start to ask yourself this question, what is my idea of success? And it seems to be in direct opposition to the actions you're taking now and to how you're feeling, well, then this is your cue to, that's the aspect of self that needs to have change applied to it. This is the aspect of self that needs to be transformed. And it could be as simple as a perspective shift, where you literally just start to look at things instead of from a lack mentality. You look at it from a place of optimism and positivity. an opportunity. Or this is where instead you realize, what do I value? And what's more important to me? Is my time more important to me? Is money more important to me? Is a feeling of security more important to me? Is a feeling of adventure more important to me? And that's where the transformation truly starts. And that's where we start to step into the feeling of inflow, the feeling of success. What does success look like for you? So I'm going to give you one takeaway here. I don't always do this, but I feel like Capricorn, I think you need it. If you can find the time to meditate, and by meditate, I mean sit with yourself for 3 separate times this coming week for 10 to 20 minutes, and you simply sit and reflect on, you just ask yourself, what does my idea of success look like? What's my ideal version of my most successful aspect of my experience or my life experience? Just sit with yourself quietly and wait to see what comes up. And then write down what comes up. And if that's something that, when you ask yourself that question, being at the top of your work game is not part of your success, or your ideal version of success in a perfect world would be having success in this area, let's say in a creative area versus working in this dry, boring job, then these are the areas you need to realize, okay, I need to start changing my routine to build in more time for this. Or if your idea of success is just sitting with your family around you, loving them and having the time for them, again, needing to build in a shift in perspective, needing to build in, if this is more important, then it's more important for them to see mommy or daddy as a healthy, happy individual than it is for them to see me as, the monetary breadwinner. And if that means that we have to live in a smaller place and we have to, have limited resources, but I get a chance to be there sharing my optimism, sharing my life experience, sharing my wisdom with them so that they feel loved and nurtured, well, then that's where you put your energy. That's where you make the change. Or if you realize maybe you've been putting a bunch of energy towards something you thought you needed to do that was going to give you this money, but you realize that when you think about success, a passion comes up for something else. And you realize, whoa, I always thought that I really liked what I was doing. I always wanted to be an IT professional. And suddenly I'm seeing myself, when I think of my idea of success, is spinning a child in the air or painting. And I'm in front of people showing them my paintings, or I'm traveling to Italy and I'm setting up my easel on one of these beautiful old bridges. And sometimes what we don't realize is when we just open ourselves up with curiosity to spirit and to the awe and wonder of really who we are, who we were meant to be and made to be versus who we've convinced ourselves that we have to be, that what comes in is that touch of inspiration where that's the moment where the divine gets to come in and say, this is your destiny. And you get that option to actually take your free will, to take courageous action towards moving towards it. And that's when your whole life changes. Because Capricorn life doesn't have to be just one long slog of meeting one goal after another after another. You should also be enjoying your life. You've earned it for just being you. It's about enjoying the journey, not just the destination. And I know sometimes Capricorns, you can be very focused on the destination. But if you're not enjoying the journey, that's the big red beacon, the warning flag that something is not right. I hope this has been illuminating. I hope you get a chance to check out your other connection readings for the month, and I look forward to reading for you next month. If you'd like to book a personal tarot reading or a one-on-one coaching session, the link to my website is in the description box below. If you would like, when you're booking a tarot reading and you have something specific that you want me to focus on, you feel free to write that in the notes and I will tailor it to whatever you are trying to get clarity on. All right. Bye, Capricorn.